Okay, so let's start. Welcome, everybody. My name is Yolanda Martinez San Miguel, and I'm the graduate chair of the Modern Languages and Literatures Department. And this is the open house for admission at the doctoral program in our department. And we are going to start with some welcoming remarks from our chair, Dr. Logan Connors.
Hi, everybody. And if you can, we always encourage you to turn on your screen if you're in a place where you have the bandwidth to do so. But we understand if you can't. Welcome to the University of Miami and to the Michele Bowman Underwood Department of Modern Languages and Literatures. We like to think of ourselves, and I think we are, an intellectually curious group of scholars and students who help provide, an academic gateway to Miami and really to the rest of the world. And our department is located at one of the nation's top research and teaching institutions in a global city of the Americas. And so we realize that this is a complex and actually complicated time to begin your journey to graduate school. You've heard of funding cuts to various organizations, discussions about what shouldn't be taught or what shouldn't be researched, discussed, or created. It's not easy. Not easy time for my colleagues and our students who are conducting multilingual, really fundamental humanistic research. But here, just to let you know, in modern languages and literatures, we continue to do research in the areas that we've always done research in, whether that's linguistic diversity or LGBTQ plus studies, cultural studies, Black, Latinx, Indigenous studies, post-colonial studies, environmental studies, much, much, much more. We teach all kinds of diverse authors. We teach about inequalities based on race or ethnicity, sexual orientation, language, and more. We do this. We've always done this. We'll always continue to do this because that's the mission. That's what excellence in those fields is. Excellence in our department, and we'll continue to do it. That's who we are. And so you are here today. We're very happy to have you here today because you're interested in pursuing the highest levels of education in literary, cultural, and linguistic studies. Events like these and students like you make us really excited because you're at least taking a peek at a program that would enable you to do so many things. One of which is the thing that we do every day: teach, research, linguistics or literature, cultural studies. And so you'll hear a lot today about our interdisciplinary PhD. We have a proven track record of helping students find fulfilling careers in academia, but also in cultural organizations and secondary and prep schools, multinational corporations, and more. And so students in our program, and we'll get into the details in a second, they focus on a cultural and or linguistic corpus in one of our three primary languages, so French, Portuguese, or Spanish, but they also complete highly unique projects really across different disciplines, including our own literary, cultural, and linguistic studies, but also anthropology and film studies, gender and sexuality studies, history, performance studies, and also and increasingly so in the digital humanities. And so our graduate students gain a lot of teaching experience, and you'll hear about teaching, you'll hear about research today. I'm not going to say anymore. We have a very full program for you, but I do want to end by giving a big thank you to Tanisha Piranian. So you've I'm sure been in contact with her. She's our staff person who's really helped out with today's events. Thank you as well to all my colleagues. It's Friday afternoon here in sunny Miami, Florida. So we appreciate you being here. Thank you to the students who are here as well. And thank you to the sort of prospective students who this event is designed for, because we're really interested in talking about what we can offer you all. So I'm going to also thank Dr. Yolanda Martinez San Miguel. She's our Director of Graduate Studies, and I'm going to pass the baton over to her right now, and she's going to set things up for the rest of the afternoon. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Logan. So maybe now we should start sharing the PowerPoint. We have a summary of what we are trying to accomplish today. Let's see if it's showing. Okay, so can we move to the slide with the agenda? Okay, thank you. So we're gonna first go over the graduate program. And then we're gonna have a time for introductions from faculty and graduate students, and then we will move into breakout rooms with faculty based on your target language of interest. And then Nisha Perianen will go over the admissions process overview, and we'll give you some tips on how to prepare an effective application, and then we will close. But keep an eye on the names of the people that are here from the faculty and the students, because some of them may have to leave early. And so if you want to reach out to them after this open house, feel free to do so. Next slide, please. So today we're going to talk about our graduate program, which is called the Literary, Cultural, and Linguistic Studies Doctoral Program. And so most people ask us these couple of questions that we will try to answer today. The first one, why come to the University of Miami to study Literary and Cultural and Linguistic Studies, and how do I prepare a successful application? Next slide. So our program has, as Dr. Connors mentioned, two major tracks. One is literary and cultural studies, and we focus on three major languages, which are Spanish, French, and Portuguese. However, some students do comparative work in the other seven languages that we teach: Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, Hebrew, Haitian Creole, German, or Italian. And then we have another track, which is critical studies of language, which brings students that are interested in linguistics, but that are interested in taking courses in cultural studies. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have a dual mission. On the one hand, we try to have a curriculum that is as flexible as possible, because we want you to be able to explore maybe areas that you have not have had the opportunity of exploring before, right? And on the other hand, we also want to engage with theoretical debates, that current theoretical debates that may be useful when you are completing a degree in languages and literary studies. So we try to maintain this balance, and so there are some requirements, obviously, but there's also flexibility for each student to sort of tailor their program based on their interest. Next slide. And so, as we mentioned before, that if you're applying to our program, that you must be working on either Spanish, French, and/or Portuguese. Then you can do comparative work in other languages, but it has to be a language that we teach here at the University of Miami, so we are able to support, your dissertation and your courses. And so we have a series of courses that are focused on different regions and some target languages. The breadth exam, which actually allows you to have a more like a panoramic preparation in literary studies, literary and cultural studies, or linguistics. And there are more specific doctoral exam, qual exam, that then allows you to then focus a specific team, and then start thinking about an area of research that for which you want to prepare more fully. Our students, there's a slide later on where we mentioned that our students are placed successfully in different kinds of positions, both academic and non-academic. And the concentration or the program is 60 credits total. And I think we're going in the other direction. Can we move next? Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about a series of opportunities that we also have as part of the program. Here, they're all not enumerated together, but we're going to talk a little bit about each one of them, and I'm going to call some of my colleagues to explain some of this. And so we will send you the people who are here present. We are going to send you the PowerPoint. So we're going to be moving a little bit fast because it's Friday afternoon, and I don't want to lose some of my colleagues that need to be somewhere else around 4. So let's move to the next slide. The first opportunity that students have at UM that I want to mention is the UGROW program. It was founded in 2015, and it allows students to, instead of teaching in the department, they actually participate, collaborate, and have an internship in non-academic jobs or units, both at the University of Miami and in the surrounding area. And the idea is that students then explore options that are not necessarily following the tenure track and becoming a professor and a researcher in an institution. And so that's it's presented as one option that students can pursue. Next slide. I'm gonna call on my colleagues, Dr. Tracy Divine Guzman and Dr. Thomas Matusiak, who are gonna tell us a little bit about the UMIA Institute because Dr. Lilian Mansour is traveling back home today from U Madrid. I don't know if Tracy is around.
Hi, Yolanda, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll just say a few words and then I'll turn it over to Thomas because we've both been collaborating with UMIA this year in different capacities. So the University of Miami Institute for the Advanced Study of the Americas incorporates units across the university and the College of Arts and Sciences, but also at all of our other campuses. And the idea is to promote scholarship about Latin America and the Caribbean. As you probably know from looking at the faculty and the students who work in our department is one of the most involved in the Institute. And our faculty member, Lilian Mansour, who is on her way back to Miami today, has been directing the Institute this year and will continue to do so next year. So there's different kinds of outreach that the Institute does, and those rotate from year to year. This year, one of the main foci has been Brazil. And so I've been in charge of the Brazil related initiatives along with a colleague, Juan Pablo Quibano, who's in the biology department. So UMIA promotes scholarship. It offers fellowships to graduate students, both teaching and research. And it also promotes collaboration with universities and independent scholars across the region in the Americas. And several of the graduate students in our program have also been teaching fellows at UMIA, which means that they get to participate in courses of their own design, usually in their fourth or fifth year of study in collaboration with a faculty member. And Thomas has been working on a different outreach program this year, so I'll let him talk about that.
Nisha, can you show the next slides before Thomas can talk? Okay, Thomas.
Great, thank you. Yes, so as Professor Divine Guzman said, I've also been collaborating with UMIA. I'm the faculty lead for the research initiative in visual culture and politics. And so as part of that initiative, we've organized a number of talks with guest speakers, including Javier Guerrero, who's a professor of Latin American Studies at Princeton University and past president of the Latin American Studies Association, as well as talks by colleagues on topics related to visual culture politics in Latin America. So these are great opportunities for graduate students to stay abreast of cutting edge research in the field, to meet leading figures in the field, and to expand their graduate training outside the classroom.
Thank you, Thomas. Nisha, can we show the next slide? This is still UMIA, but there you can see the initiatives that were important this past year. The Brazil initiative, the Caribbean Studies one, the Visual Culture and Politics and Hemispheric Health. There are a lot of symposia talks and presentations. Students also hold dissertation writing days there. So it's a place where many of you are going to have, interactions with, and they also offer funding for field research for our students. Next. Okay, so the Caribbean Studies concentration is one among several concentrations that we have here in the university. It's a collaboration between our department, history and English mainly, although we have people from other departments sometimes collaborating as well. And basically the idea is to allow students to choose a focus of interest and take 2 classes on Caribbean Studies in our department and 2 classes on Caribbean Studies outside our department. And the idea is that not only they learn about the region, but they also start developing original research as they prepare their papers for the different classes that they're taking. Next. The digital humanities is Dr. Susana Ales Torrent here.
Yes. So another of our most popular graduate certificates is in digital humanities, where we try to engage students to explore digital methods and expand their research with computational tools and collaborate across disciplines. And right now we have around 30 students enrolled, primarily from English, history, and modern languages. And we have 3 mandatory courses. One is the Introduction to Digital Humanities, which is taken normally the first year and help students to explore the possibility to include the digital component in their dissertation. Then there's a second course that is Topics, and this is open. It can be on computational linguistics, visualization, text technologies, network analysis, etc. And then finally, the third course is a practicum in the digital humanities, which is meant to be like the last course, completely hands-on, and where the students devote most of the time to build their projects. And then finally, to obtain the certificate, there is a public presentation of digital portfolios that showcase the work completed through our certificate. And we also have some grants during the summer. And so you get the opportunity to work with a project, so with an ongoing project by a faculty, or you can do your own projects, or you can travel to some trainings in the US or abroad. And yeah, that would be it.
Thank you, Susana. Next slide, please. We have the medieval and early modern studies, Dr. Connors.
Yeah, yes. Hi, everybody. So this is a certificate that is very interdisciplinary. It exists across history and English and modern languages and literatures. And in the past, several students have completed this who really wanted to show their breadth in terms of their academic knowledge that they gained in graduate school. They might have a dissertation project that is on a contemporary topic, but through this certificate, they can show that they have fairly comprehensive knowledge of coursework in medieval and early modern studies. If you have any questions about this certificate, don't hesitate to email me.
Thank you. Next, Andrew, are you around to talk about the slides?
I am around.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, everyone. The second language acquisition and teaching certificate is earned by taking 3 related courses and then submitting a portfolio to the coordinator, who is my colleague, Dr. Aguirre Gondrão, who is on sabbatical this semester. So a main objective of this certificate is for students to ground themselves in knowledge and an awareness of principal theories and questions in principally research on second language acquisition and bilingualism, but concomitantly inquiry in linguistics in general. So as you know, there are a lot of myths about bilingualism, a lot of misconceptions, cliches, stereotypes about how second languages are learned, what it means to speak a second or third language. And so those matters have certainly become all the more crucial in the present day of computer-generated language, AI, automatic translators, etc. Another point to highlight is that matters of language and migration, as you all are well aware, have become very important in current political contexts in the US and in Europe. So this certificate highlights your pedagogical experience and your preparation to teach a range of courses, from basic language to advanced courses on literary and cultural studies, or topics in language analysis and linguistics, if that's going to be your focus in the field. And in all those courses, wherever you end up teaching at any institution, in those courses, second language acquisition and heritage language acquisition are still very much a part of what goes on in the classrooms. There's really no such thing as teaching an undergrad course anywhere at any level that doesn't entail processes of adult language learning. So with the certificate, students have a portfolio of materials ready on hand when they begin the job search. So we want our students to be among those educated people who speak about language acquisition and use from an informed perspective, not a popular cultural perspective. And we want you to be grounded in scientific method and humanistic understanding of language and linguistics, and know the terminology and the discourse that linguists actually use to talk about topics of bilingualism, computation, language and society, and language learning as you enter the field. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So now we move to the fun part, which is introduction, so you get to know some of us. So can we move to the next slide? I'm going to show you a couple of slides, and then I'm going to interrupt the the presentation so we can all see each other. Could you go to the next slide so they can see this was this year, the members of this year's Graduate Studies Committee. That's going to change next year. But, so you can see who are the people who are behind the process of admissions. It's a collaborative process. We consult with colleagues that are not in the committee as well to make sure that we bring people that, if you mention someone as your advisor, we consult with them as well, and they form part of the decision process. The next slide has some of the pictures of the rest of the faculty, but I'm going to ask Nisha to see if we can interrupt the slide projection so then we can do introductions. And I'm going to call my colleagues in the order that I see them. Please tell us, tell us about your areas of expertise or courses that you offer. And I'm going to start with Logan Connors, who's the first one in my view at this point, the first person.
Hello again, Logan Connors. So I am a professor of French, and I teach classes on French literature and culture from the Middle Ages all the way to the present. But my main area is the history of French theater, but also history of performances outside of theater as well. I work at the articulation of theater and society, or theater and cultural history, including history of religion and history of democracy, history of revolution. And I work with a lot of students on the Spanish side in performance studies and questions of theater and revolution, performance and political activism, things like that.
Thank you. Thomas?
Hi again, everyone. Thomas Matusiak. I teach in the Spanish program. My research focuses on Latin American cultural studies, especially film studies, film and media theory, critical theory, visual culture and politics, audiovisual politics, etc. So I'm happy to work with students who are interested in those areas in Latin America, or if you were working in a different area, but you were interested in working on film and media, I'm also happy to collaborate with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Pato Imbaswa.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Patron Baspanikema. I'm a French and Francophone studies here. And my areas are much more, let's say, in Francophone studies. And the regions are the Caribbean, Sub-Saharan Africa, and also, let's say, the Black France and Black Europe in general. I work also on questions of identity, migration, exile, and race. Thank you.
Thank you. Hema?
Hello, everybody. I'm Gemma Perez Sanchez. I specialize in contemporary Spanish literature from Spain, but I also have a foot on the southern cone of Latin America. I work on Uruguay and Argentina. My focus is on lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender studies, and queer studies. And I work, for example, on activism in the 1970s and contemporarily in those areas. But I'm also moving into the area of studying the cultural production of racialized populations in Spain and Latin American diasporic subjects in Spain who do sort of radical artivism. And I am co-leading the implementation of the LGBTQ graduate certificate or interdisciplinary graduate certificate, which will be housed in our department, has been approved by the department, and now it's moving through the approval processes through the College of Arts and Sciences and then the university. It's been a long time coming, but it will have one core course that is required and that covers basically interdisciplinarity, and then you can fulfill the other courses in our department or elsewhere. And I'm happy to work also on with people who are interested in urban cultural products. I've worked a lot on comic books and urban culture. So welcome all.
Thank you. Susana.
Hi again. So my name is Susana Torrent, and my research focuses on medieval and early modern Iberia, with particular interest in life writing, translation studies. I work with Catalan, Spanish, Latin, Italian, and the Iberian Peninsula's connection also with the Mediterranean. I also work in digital humanities, especially working on text technologies, everything that is related to text, and digital scholarly editing. And and I will be happy to have students working in all those fields, in any of those fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Susana. The next one is Cristina, who's traveling somewhere. You're muted. Oh,
Okay, sorry, I'm not good at Zoom these days. So I'm Cristina Civantos. I work on Latin America as well as Spain and the Arab world from the 19th century to the present, and mostly migration studies and historical memory. So I would welcome talking with anyone who has an interest in those areas. Nice to meet you all.
thank you, Cristina. The next one is Tracy.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I work in Latin American studies, and a lot of my work in the last many years has been on global indigenous studies with an emphasis on Brazil and the Andes. Um, I also work in environmental humanities, and I've been part of the environmental humanities working group here at the University of Miami. And also in animal studies, which is an area of research that I've been doing for the last several years. So at I've been co-leading the Brazil initiative, as I mentioned, and I've also been involved in an organization called NAGIS, which is Native American and Global Indigenous Studies, that also pulls people from across the university with a focus on indigeneity in the US, locally here in Miami, and then around the world. My emphasis, again, has been mostly in South America, but we do have folks working on those issues across the university in other areas. This year, I've also been part of the Climate Institute, which pulls folks from across the university. So increasingly looking at the environmental humanities and how they relate to the Americas. So lovely to meet you all and welcome.
Thank you, Tracy. Omar.
Hi, my name is Omar Vargas. I teach in the Spanish program. My area is pretty much science and literature, and I'm also doing like Caribbean and Latin American literature from the 20th and 21st century. Welcome all.
Thank you, Omar. Stephen.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Steve Butterman. I direct the Portuguese program. My research interests extend through 19th, 20th, and 21st century Luso-Afro-Brazilian literatures, cultures and literatures. Like Gemma Perez Sanchez, I also work in LGBTQ studies and have a joint appointment in gender and sexuality studies. I'm also interested, my recent project is on immigration issues for Brazilian LGBTQ populations to South Florida specifically. Nice to meet everybody. I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you, Stephen. Andrew. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Andrew Lynch. I first came to Miami, gosh, like 28 years ago almost now, specifically to do research on bilingualism, multilingualism. And I don't know if you're aware, but census data tells us that Miami-Dade County is more than 70% Hispanic Latinx. And then it's a majority bilingual city. More than just Spanish English, there's a lot of Haitian Creole speakers. There's a lot of Brazilian Portuguese speakers, Hebrew speakers, Russian speakers. We could go down the list. French also has an important presence. I guess I would just remind you here through my personal introduction that we are in a very unique spot in the context of the U.S. in terms of being at the crossroads of sort of the Americas, metaphorically speaking, and also a city where English is not necessarily always viewed as the majority language. So that said, you know why I came here. I research bilingualism, language and society. I'm a sociolinguist. My main interest is Spanish in the United States, but I have a much broader general interest in language contact, and language variability, and language and migration beyond the US and Europe also, and in other contexts of Latin America.
Thank you, Andrew. Did I miss any faculty members? Okay, so now we're moving to the graduate students who have been generous enough to come today and join us. They're like finishing courses and also spending some of them are also teaching. So we appreciate really that you are here with us. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, And then the first person that I see is Maite.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here, for coming to the open house. My name is Maite Hernandez Lorenzo. I'm a fifth year student, almost sixth year student, and I'm working on theater, Hispanophone Caribbean theater, and cultural policies. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Maite. The next person I see is Maciel.
Hi everyone, my name is Maciel Medina. I'm in my fourth year here in the Spanish track, and I focus on Cuba, Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico and their diasporas. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Maciel. And then Euge.
Everyone, my name is Euge. I'm researching mostly Brazil and Argentina.
The volume.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Oh, okay. My name is Euge. I'm researching mostly Brazil and Argentina, and I am researching gender inclusive Spanish and Pajubá cryptolect from Brazil.
Thank
I'm a
you.
fourth-year PhD candidate.
Yeah, thank you. So in the slides that we're going to send you, you will be able to see all the students in our program by cohort. And now we're going to go into breakout rooms based on the target language of your interest. We're going to have, I think is it 15 minutes? Yes, we're going to have 15 minutes where you will be able to interact with faculty and students and ask questions regarding your areas of interest. So let's do that now, and then we will come back as a group to continue talking about the admissions process. So let's get back to the slides. And now I see that some other students joined, but yeah. We are going to, some of the faculty members have to leave, so please keep, their names, and you can actually reach out to them if you have questions, or you can reach out to me, and I will give you the information so you can continue any conversations that were interrupted. I'm going to talk a little bit about the graduate studies program. Can we move? I think it's like next slide. Okay. As a refresher, we mentioned this before, but we have two main tracks: the one in literal and cultural studies, and the one in critical studies of language or linguistics. And our program has three main components: the courses, which actually are not necessarily only to fulfill requirements. It's an opportunity for students to explore areas that maybe they may not know that much about and they want to get to know better, and also theoretical debates that they may use or not in their dissertation. But we actually appreciate when students are willing to explore new topics that maybe will not figure necessarily in their dissertations. And then we have two exams. One is the MA exam, which we call a breadth exam. That's a portfolio where students prepare a couple of courses based on their major area, survey courses based on their major area of interest. And then the qualifying exam, which is the doctoral exam, in which you have a reading list, a primary reading list, a theoretical reading list, and then another reading list that is on either a different discipline or an area of emphasis. And that is an exam that is much closer to your area of expertise for the dissertation. And finally, the dissertation prospectus and defense, and then the successful completion of the dissertation. So you start from a bigger picture to like a more focused picture. Next slide, please. We also have two options. Most of the students actually come to complete the PhD as a 5-year program. However, some students who may have an MA program that they have completed in the field very close to our program may request to move to the 4-year programs. However, since we moved to the portfolio exercise, we have not had many people do this, but it's still an option in some cases. So that's why I wanted to mention it. And then the next slide, please. A couple of things that I had not mentioned before. Some students can have the option of completing a cognitive field, which is 2 courses in a particular discipline that may be useful or adjacent to their areas of interest. Some people choose history. Some people actually do digital humanities. Some people go to communications or do different kinds of combinations. Religious studies, we have had people doing religious studies as well. And so you have the option of choosing an adjacent discipline and completing courses that will figure in some way in your research and in your dissertation. And you're expected to learn or to demonstrate reading knowledge of 2 languages or an overall knowledge of a third language, because we don't count your target language. There's English, your target language, and then this language that if you can take a course that is conducted in that language, then that it's another way of removing the requirement. And then the last slide, the next slide, I think this is the last one that I'm going to be presenting. It's some information about Miami. I know that you hear the news and people know and probably are afraid to come here, but there are interesting things happening in Miami. We are one of the top international cities, as my colleague, Dr. Andrew Lynch mentioned, 73% of the residents in Miami-Dade speak other languages, 2 or more languages at home. Many of them, 70%, maybe, are Spanish speakers. We have arts and museums and book fairs and Art Basel, many things happening in the arts, that is really something outstanding for our city. And there's people from all parts of the world that are either visiting or reside here. And we are very close to the airport. The airport is also very well located to travel internationally, which is important for the research that many of our students are completing. And you can find different neighborhoods when you are admitted to the program. We connect you with our graduate students, and you can find places where you feel that you have a community. So there are choices for you to find places where you can live. So I think that's the end of my section of the presentation. Now I'm going to ask our graduate coordinator, Nisha Perianin, to explain the admission process to all of you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nisha Perianen. I have my email address over there, mmlgraduate@miami.edu. You can always email me should you have any questions about the application process, which is what I'm going to be here talking to you about right now. So I will drop this in the chat as well, so you don't have to rush to write it down. Okay, so first things first is that applications are only taken through the portal. The link is up there. I will again send it in the chat, and I will send this presentation after. We don't accept applications through the mail, by email, in the post, anything like that. It comes exclusively through the portal. And there are things that you need to provide via the portal. So number one is the application. Of course, you fill out your general details. Another thing you will be needing is a statement of purpose, explaining your research interests, and why the Department of Modern Languages is a good place for you. Your next thing you will need is 3 letters of recommendation in English, and ideally these letters are written by faculty or people who know your interests or your work or what you wish to pursue. 3 of those would be great, and again, those are sent via the portal, and they should come through a professional email address. The next thing you will need is official transcripts. What have you studied in the past? We don't need anything that high school related. We just need things that undergrad, grad, anything you've taken that might, make your application stand out. Or, and we say official because they do need to come from the university. If you've studied at a particular university, they should come directly from the university. We can take copies as placeholders, but eventually the official version will be needed by us. And the next thing would be research papers. So 2 research papers, one in English, the other in your primary language of proposed study, so French, Portuguese, or Spanish. My next slide is going to be about international study, but GRE is no longer required for the PhD program. International students without BA or MA degrees from an US institution are required to take TOEFL. I'll explain more in my next slide. Okay, so international applicants, all welcome to apply, of course. They must be evaluated by one of these companies. And again, I will send this PowerPoint presentation so you don't have to jot anything down. There is a language proficiency exam required if you are residing at a country that is English is not your primary. So if you're coming from Canada or Australia, it's all good, but there is a test that you must take. Otherwise, it can be here a TOEFL test, an ELTS, or a now accepting Duolingo, and the scores for the University of Miami, the minimum scores are up there. Again, there is a website that will tell you more about the process more in detail for specifically for international students. And I will again drop that in the chat as well. And it says here, you are strongly advised to submit your transcripts by January 3rd to be eligible for fellowship consideration. It does take a long time for things to be evaluated and processed. So it is advised that you send your stuff in earlier rather than later, especially if you want to be considered for fellowships. And deadlines. The portal for the next academic year hasn't opened, but it will open in the fall, and it will the deadline, if you want to be considered for a fellowship, or it is strongly advised you send in your application by January 4th. The committee will start reviewing, and it's advised that you just send things in earlier. So if you are missing anything, I can reach out and say, hey, we still need one letter of recommendation. Can you reach out to that person? We just still have some time to play with. We are only in May, so you have a long time to prepare for this application. It will open sometime in the fall, and I think you have a few months to get that application in. And I will drop links into our chat, and I'll send it in a follow-up email after, so you're not pressed to write anything down. And the last thing I want to point out is that all applicants will automatically be considered for departmental teaching assistantships. So in other words, you all are automatically considered, and with that, it comes with a 5-year stipend at the end of each year. Your tuition is waived each academic year for your 5 years, and you'll get 100% coverage for your health insurance coverage for those years. And of course, there is criteria for you to meet for you to keep getting those teaching assistantships, but that can be, but we will be following up with that later on. That's me. If you, again, have any questions, I'm going to, right now, I'm going to hand back over to Dr. Yolanda, and I will write those links in our chat box. And hold on to any questions you have, and I guess until the end. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that we are done with the presentations or not? Let me see. No, there's this is how to prepare an effective application. These are some suggestions that we have to help you put together the application. So next slide, please. The statement of purpose, you need to think about a project or an area of interest that you may have, right? And explain how this became an area of interest, but try to also explain what are your talents, your competencies, and think about our department and what we offer, right? Sometimes we cannot admit a student that is amazing, has excellent record, but wants to do a particular project that we don't have the kind of people, either the faculty or the kind of expertise that person is presenting as a project. So try to study, our offerings. We have all our courses listed for several semesters in our website. website. Our professors have a bios that you can actually access. And so try to present a project that makes sense for the context of our department. Keep in mind, again, French, Portuguese, or Spanish have to be a target language that is important, that's central in your research, and then you can combine with any of the other languages that we offer. But if you apply with a language that we don't teach, or is not the main project is not focused on French, Portuguese, or Spanish, that also makes your application less competitive. And you could mention it's useful to mention faculty that you can work with. Be careful when you do that. It's better to mention less people and be more and go deeper into why that person may be able to help you in advancing and training in the training that you want to complete. But instead of mentioning many names that maybe do not show that you actually engage with the information that we have on the website. Next slide, please. So then the letters of recommendation, I think we need to go in the other direction, right? Or not? Where are we? Yes. Okay, here we are. Okay, so the letters of recommendation, find people who know you as a student and or researcher. Sometimes people include very good recommendations of people who were your coworkers or that know you in a context where they cannot talk about you as a researcher and a student. So that is something that makes an application less competitive. Do not choose recommenders that are your friends or family members or that refer to you as such in a letter. This is something that will make your letters less competitive when compared to the rest of the pool. And things that, and you will have a copy of these slides, right? That your recommender could mention is previous courses or research experiences that you may have. They should be able to engage with any written work that you have done in the past and maybe talk about the quality and your language skills, your ability to participate in courses, your oral presentation skills, your professionalism, your maturity, right? And for international applicants, we are expecting a letter that is like 1.5 pages to 2 pages long. We know that our expectations are different from other places, right? So please make sure that you convey to your recommenders the kind of letter that we're looking for, and maybe you can even share this slide with them. The writing samples, the next slide, please. They should be an example of the kind of research that you can complete. Please do not submit the same written sample in in English and in another language, right? Because what you're showing there is that you probably either translated yourself or most likely use a translator to present that work. If you should have a strong written sample in the target language, right? And in English, you should show enough competency to be able to follow courses and to complete written assignments and exams that will happen in English during your career here at UM, right? They should represent your best work. They don't necessarily, they have to be 15 to 20 pages long. Please don't send us entire thesis, honor thesis, or things like that. Choose a very good chapter from that honor thesis instead, so we can see an example of the work that you can do, and plan ahead, right? Maybe you have a paper that you got a very good grade and that you want to use as your written sample. You are attending the open house today. You have more than enough time to actually work on that paper and revise it before you submit it to us. Next slide. And so other things that you should do, like, do the homework, like try to find out things about our department that, and the city, right? To ask those questions throughout the process, the admissions process. Look for the application deadlines. Once the application deadlines pass, we unfortunately cannot accept late applications. Check the documents that need to be submitted. The TOEFL and the exams to show language competency, English language competency, need to be submitted well in advance, right? So make plans to do that. Sometimes we have a complete application that is missing that, and that means we can consider the application, but we may not be able to admit the candidate if we don't get those results on time. And see, if you have any questions, you always can contact me with any questions that you may have, and I will schedule either a phone call, Zoom interview, or even talk to you via email. And so it's important that you don't assume anything. If something doesn't seem clear, let us know, and we will try to help you. And for international students, try to apply. We have more than one deadline. We only mentioned the first deadline, but try to apply early because the process of securing immigration papers is taking longer and longer. So it's important for us to be able to give you a response as soon as possible. Also, if you miss the first deadline that Nisha mentioned, then that means that we are not going to be able to consider you for competitive internal fellowships that may allow you to arrive to the university and spend maybe one additional year without teaching, or that may offer you additional stipends. Next slide. We have several funding opportunities. Many of them happen throughout the year. Like we have scholarships, we have field research scholarship. Now we have during the summer micro grants for people who are doing research trips. The graduate students here in our department also are teaching assistants, so that's another way of getting funding for to pay for your training. The stipend and the health insurance are covered. You get a stipend, and then your full health insurance is covered. And what you see there, like the images that you have there, the students also have the opportunity to organize a graduate student conference that is supported by the department. But we also encourage the students to go to other departments and request funding to be able to invite people to come to Miami and present their work. Next slide, please. And so here you have some examples of what is a typical funding package. Our funding package is usually a 5-year program if you are in the 5-year program, right? And you have stipend for the 5 years. That covers your credits. And once you arrive here, we can explain how we distribute the credits. It also covers your health insurance for the 5 years. And as I mentioned before, people who apply by the first deadline are also considered for a series of internal fellowships that include more stipend and in some cases more time without teaching. Next slide. And so here are some of the places where our students have found jobs. You can review that later on, right? But they do find jobs. And some of them are not non-academic jobs as well. Some of them have stayed in the University of Miami and in jobs that are both academic and non-academic. And so that gives you an idea of what our students do after graduation. Next slide. Here are some examples of the topics of the dissertations of students that have graduated recently. This information is also available in our website. That gives you an idea of some of the topics that our students work on and how interdisciplinary they are, and the different approaches that are possible in our program. Next slide. This I already mentioned. The students organize a conference, and that allows them to choose a topic together, invite keynotes, invite students. They do a call for papers together, and then they send it out, and they bring students. And this year they also brought faculty from other institutions. Some of them came, from Europe as well, and they spend the day talking about topics that they have identified as important for them. And it's an opportunity for them to learn also how we do organize events once we become faculty members. And so it's an experience that is also important. Next. And so I think that, we've reached the end. My closing remarks are simply to thank you for joining us on a Friday afternoon. Thank all my colleagues and the students that came to join us and to talk to you during the open house. Know that we are here to help you in the process. Start early rather than later, right? Because the more the time you give us to help you, the more information you may get on questions that you may have. And I think that the last slide is questions, where to direct your questions, right? You can contact me. The email is there. And also, if you email Nisha, Nisha will also put you in contact with me, right? And our website, which will be updated during this summer, but it has a lot of information that should be very useful for all of you as you consider admission to our program. So now we have some time for some questions, right?
Yeah, we've been answering some questions through the chat, but I know there are some people who have additionally have some questions. So, Corinne, did you?
Yes. Oh, what happened?
Yes.
Okay, now.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask you this question, which is quite delicate. I would like to know the feedback that you have from the program students in the past. I didn't hear the amount of the stipend, and I wanted to know if the students have been able to make their living with this stipend, or do we have to figure out that we will need some other source of funding?
Yeah. I don't know if the students want to talk about that. That's a constant struggle that we have. Miami is expensive. So we do have a stipend that covers 9 months out of the year. Some of the students are able to find summer jobs both in the university or outside. We do try to, once after you teach 1 year in the department, 1 year of language courses, you can teach in the summer as well. And some students, I know that this year a couple of students actually secured jobs. We were offering them summer teaching, but then they declined because they found other jobs, right? So it is a process. There are some grants that are earmarked for the summer where that allow students to actually travel and conduct research and covers their expenses. But I don't know if any of the students that are here want to say anything additional to that. I don't know. Maciel?
I can add. Yeah, so like Dr. Martinez San Miguel said, there are other opportunities. So for instance, I guess like the last 2 summers, I have taught a summer class, and that was also helpful. But I would say what a lot of us do is just we try to be very diligent of saving money from like our like let's say like from each month, just make sure we have like expenses covered as well in the summer, just in case like we don't have enough. And but yeah, so that's a lot what a lot of like my classmates and I do. We just make sure to set money aside so we have something just in case. And then if the department has summer classes available or like tutoring, then we take advantage of those.
Yeah.
Well, my question was more, I would say more during the 9 months. I would put the summer gap aside.
Yeah, I can respond a bit to this. One of the stipulations is that you're not actually allowed to have any other employment federally, unless it's approved by the department as well. So that's one thing to consider. And if you get external funding or other sources of funding, you have to report them to the university and to the department so that they can work that into the funding that they provide, right? The salary that our department provides and guarantees for each student. So during the 9 months, I would say currently it is much better than when I entered the program 4 years ago as well. So there's a union that works and struggles to as well try to raise graduate wages. But in general, the things are tight. It's Miami, right? But it's not impossible. And we're talking so much about the summer probably because that is one of the periods where we can hold extra jobs. But during the 9 months, we are not allowed to have extra jobs. And if you get extra funding, you have to report it because it could be deducted even, depending on what source of funding it is. So those are things to consider. And housing in Miami is expensive, but we we find places, and sometimes just talking to the students that are already there, we can figure out, through the grapevine, sorts of accommodations for that.
Hema, I see your hand, Hema.
Yeah, just some hopeful news in a way, and maybe Yolanda, you can say more about this. So, I serve in the faculty senate, as does Dr. Divine Guzman, and one thing we can tell you is that the administration, like from the president down to the provost and the deans, are very aware that there's a lot of pressures, not just on graduate students but on faculty, to find housing and to make a living, to live properly with the salaries we get and the stipends you get, but they're particularly aware of the importance of raising graduate student stipends to attract the best graduate students. So it's not like the university doesn't care. The university cares. It's just that raising anybody's salaries and the stipends means a huge amount of money for the university. So they're looking into it, and they're also looking into possibly finding ways of affordable housing for graduate students. So it's in the work. The other thing that is hopeful is that there is a search going on for a new permanent dean of the graduate school. For the past 2 or 3 years, we've had an interim dean. And so waiting for the new provost. We have a new provost who's very dynamic and he's interested in helping. So it's on the radar. It's been on the radar always. And just so you know, all graduate directors, I've been a graduate director in the past as well, we fight tooth and nail to get the administration to give you higher salaries. So it's not that they don't care, is that, it is Miami. And every time that the salaries and the stipends manage to get to a place where it's a living wage, then there's a huge cost of living increase that is out of our control. And it's just, maybe because all of the New Yorkers decide to move down to Miami and then the prices increase, like happened during the pandemic. So we are very aware, and we know that our graduate students don't live always super comfortably. But as Jacob said, you can talk to them, and you've seen some of the names, Maciel and Jacob, and if you guys are willing to talk to the incoming graduate students, and behind the scenes, basically, then yes. It's harder for international students because you have less capacity to work outside. But I think all of the directors of graduate studies always try to give priority to graduate students who are international in terms of summer funding, because they might not be able to find, we know that they can't find employment outside of the university. So we try. We do care about that situation, but it is a challenge for all of us.
Yeah, and the stipend has gone up since I have been here. So they increased it. I don't know if they have announced an increase for this year, but it has gone up several years. And I arrived here in 2018. So, but it is an important question, and our students are on top of this. They help each other. And the faculty too. We have apartments that we inherit from one faculty member to another. So we help each other with that. Housing prices are stabilizing. They were going up after the pandemic. Or during the pandemic, many people moved here. But now I'm seeing more apartments that did not used to come out or were never announced that are coming back and are being announced at a more normal range. So that's also encouraging. Any other questions?
Nita has a question. She asked to speak in French.
What? Jacob, you said something?
Hello, I'm Nisa, and I would like to participate for this interview and to speak. Can I speak in French, please?
Sure.
Now?
My colleagues will
Sure.
help.
Okay. Ok. Bonjour tout le monde. Alors, je suis très contente d'être parmi vous, voilà, et de vous rencontrer, malgré le fait que c'est virtuel. Mais bon, c'est toujours cela. Alors, en ce qui me concerne, j'ai un diplôme de master, voilà, en 2000. Je l'ai eu en 2012. Et depuis, je travaille comme enseignante, professeure de français. Mon rêve est de faire un doctorat. Seulement, le souci qui se pose, c'est qu'à chaque fois, je n'ai pas le niveau adéquat en anglais. Voilà, donc le niveau de l'IELTS et le TOEFL, il faut avoir un excellent anglais pour l'avoir. J'ai fait quelques formations en langue anglaise. J'ai un niveau de B1. Voilà, je m'exerce, j'essaie de regarder des vidéos, mais ça reste toujours insuffisant. Et c'est ce qui me bloque à chaque fois. Des solutions pour cela. Donc, et croyez-moi, je suis très motivée, je suis très passionnée. dans mon travail, et quand je travaille, je ne compte pas mes heures. Croyez-moi, c'est un pur plaisir. Le fait de travailler, de rédiger, de faire des recherches, ça me comble au vrai sens du terme. Malheureusement, il y a toujours la barrière de la langue qui fait obstacle.
Yeah, if I understood the question correctly, I've had other candidates that come with obviously a good knowledge of one of the target languages, but that the English exam may not be as strong. And so we try to get a waiver for that requirement, but we need to prove that the student is able to survive in our courses, right? The problem is not that much the courses in the department because we're used to people who are native speakers of other languages, and English may be their second or third language. But there are other courses that you may need to complete in other departments, and so we need to make a case. We send that to the graduate dean, and then they see all the materials, and then they decide, right? If they will allow it. It's important to take the exam and try to get the best score possible, right? But we have had admissions, and we have, if the student, for example, had a 1 year in an institution in English, for example, or we look at the courses they have taken in English, right? And we try to make a case and see if the graduate school will allow us to admit. I don't know if Hema, who has done this in the past, has something.
Yeah. It's, mon français c'est pas bon. So I'm not going to speak in French, I'm sorry. But I understood your question very well. Nisa, unfortunately, we're also beholden to the graduate school. And this is something we explained in the breakout room in Spanish. The graduate school sets the levels for the TOEFL. If a student does not meet those levels, then our hands are tied. We can make a case,
Yeah.
but they may not approve it. So unfortunately, you sound like you're a wonderful candidate and that you're very motivated to do research and to study here. But I personally would say that you really need to work on your English for maybe at least another year. Put in the effort to improve it. The writing, can be improved, but it's mostly the speaking and the comprehension. So you can be in classes that are taught in English because a lot of our classes are taught in English because they're comparative. We have students who do French, Spanish, Portuguese in the same classroom, and those classes are taught in English. Or if you're doing linguistics, for example, most of those classes are in English as well. So unfortunately, English is necessary.
Yeah. I mean, we do get some waivers, but it's people who have either completed a degree in English. Some people do postdocs, have been Fulbrights, things like that, that they have someone in that institution that can include in their letter of recommendation some evaluation of that person saying that they have enough competency. But again, as Dr. Perez Sanchez is saying, it's a decision of the dean, and each dean has a different approach. So we don't know, we cannot promise that it's going to happen, but this year I think we made a strong case and we were successful, but it was actually because our chair met the dean in person in an event and was able to make the case a stronger case in person than the case that we made in paper. Any other questions? Corinne?
Yes, I have a little question. It's again about the third or second language, apart from English. I would like to know, so there's something I didn't properly understand. You talked at some point about having the proficiency in English and two other languages, or I didn't understand, or only two, but with an higher level of proficiency in one of them.
Yeah, I can explain that again. We require you come with a target language. That target language could be Spanish, Portuguese, or French, right? That doesn't count as a foreign language for us because that's the language that you're doing your training in, right? Then we're expecting people to have English. Then you have two options. You could have reading knowledge of two additional languages, which means you take a translation exam in which we give you a passage from an academic paper and you prove that you can actually understand two languages as reading knowledge, or you complete a course that is is offered in that language, and you can write papers in that language. And if you do that, which is called a holistic knowledge of a language, we only require one language, one additional language. So it would be 3 if you do the whole holistic knowledge, and it would be 4 if you do the reading knowledge of 2, because I'm including English. It will be English, your target language, and 2 reading language, 2 reading knowledge languages.
So about the holistic, is it something that we're going to get what we call en route during the PhD, or is it okay? Or is it something that we do?
Yeah, you can do it during the PhD.
Yeah, you would take courses with us. I mean, I don't know, maybe Yolanda, if you want to explain. So you have the capacity to enroll in existing undergraduate language courses with a number that is a graduate number. It appears as 0 credits, so you don't get credit for it. So that, just so you know, this is on top of your 3 courses, graduate courses. But that allows you to sit in an undergraduate class and learn a language. So yes, and that's part, and it's 0 credits for you. But yeah, that's a good
it's part
question.
of the completion.
Yes. Yeah. Then you take the exam, you take the exam and you complete it, or you take, some students take a 300 level undergraduate class in that language and complete papers as at the graduate level, obviously, and then they show like a holistic knowledge of that language, meaning that you can attend a class, write papers, read novels, etc.
Thank you very much.
And basically, I think, Yolanda, this is the case, right? They have 3 years to complete the language requirement.
Yes.
You have to complete the language requirement before you take your qualifying exam, which takes place in the spring of your 3rd year.
Yes.
So you have time. And we encourage people to choose languages that make sense for their research.
Absolutely.
Not just a random language.
In this field, I was just wondering, what about in Caribbean studies? What about Creoles? Because we know that there is different types of Creoles. So which one is acceptable? Is it only the Haitian Creole? And if we are not already produced like scientific papers from, long enough, like 15 to 20 pages in this language, how can we sort that out?
The Creole languages, I was in conversation with Dr. Gema Perez Sanchez, so the information I'm going to give you is preliminary, right? It can be, I think it can be, but I'll have to confirm that. One of the problems that we may have is that we need to identify someone who will be able, for example, to administer the exam, the translation exam, right? The classes that we have of Haitian Creole are all language courses. We don't offer any class, at upper division or graduate level that is in Creoles, but it's something that we are trying to figure out to make sure that we're fair with, anybody that has a competency in a language that is relevant, because we do teach Haitian Creole, right? So it's something that him and I were talking about that earlier, and we will clarify that information.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we do have, I'm speaking out loud, Yolanda, Ludovic does Martinican Creole, I believe.
I think so.
Yes, so we do have a professor of computational linguistics who does research on the Creole languages in general. So it's in French Creoles. So he might be somebody who would be able to evaluate your exam or your capacity to, is another kind of Creole your native language, if I may ask?
It's very close to it. It's Guadeloupean Creole.
Oh, okay.
So Guadeloupean Creole.
Distortions with Martinican Creole, but I also speak, read, and write in Haitian Creole, because though I'm more at ease in Guadeloupean Creole, but that's not an issue. It's just that I would like to conduct on this field of different Creoles.
I do think that I'm not the director of graduate studies, so again, tentative answer for the time being. But as long as we have a faculty member who can evaluate your language capacity, then it should not be a problem, I don't think. And if it's relevant for your research, yes.
Yeah,
that's the main part of my research.
Exactly. So we will have an answer, because it's something that we will make sure that we have an answer, because there's other students already in the program. that are coming to work with the Creoles, precisely because we have Professor Dr. Montpelat among us. So, yeah. So I'm looking at the time and I don't want to keep my colleagues here so late. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to contact me and Nisha, and I will either respond to your question or direct it to the person that can respond the question. Thank you for attending the open house. We will we'll send you a copy of the PowerPoint, and any questions, send them our way. And thank you to my colleagues again and the students for coming, and to the prospective students for joining us this afternoon.